All right. Got some folks trickling in here. Welcome. Give it a couple minutes to let folks get situated here. Thank you for joining us. Got some healthy numbers. All right.
All right, well, if you want to.
Yeah, let's get this started. Well, again, thank you all for joining us this morning. My name is Will Snyder. I'm a sales and charter broker with 26 North Yachts, and we're going to be hosting a weekly webinar, 10 a.m. on Wednesday, and this will obviously be the first of could be quite a few. We're going to be hosting this for the duration of this crisis that we're in. Every week, we're going to be focusing either on sellers or buyers, and this week we're going to be focusing on things from a seller's perspective. I would draw your attention to the Q&A button at the bottom of your screen. We do want this to be an interactive experience, so please, hit us with any questions that cross your mind during this presentation. Today, we're going to be talking about the 5 things a seller has to know in what is undoubtedly a very difficult market. And we're fortunate enough to be joined by Mike Carlson, co-founder of 26 North Yachts. Before we get into everything, I do want to explain why Mike and 26 North Yachts in particular is uniquely positioned to explain the dynamics of this current extraordinarily difficult market. Mike has been a broker for the better part of 2 decades at this point. And somewhat counterintuitively, his career really flourished at the very depths of the Great Recession in that 2008 to 2010 period. In fact, he did so well during that time that he, along with his business partner, Nicholas Scherb, started 26 North Yachts in early 2011, when the yacht market, the stock market, and the general economy was still highly depressed. The first couple years were record-breaking, and fortunately, that success has continued to this day. In fact, we closed on an 80 Lazara just a couple days ago. And so with all that said, Mike, thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Thank you, Will, and thanks for the introduction. I'm happy to do this. So this is the first of what we hope to be many. As Will mentioned, this kind of webinar will be focused more along the lines of for sellers or preparing to list your boat for sale. In addition to, one of the things I'll touch on is just like where I see the market, and a lot of what I'm going through today is solely based on my experience alone. So it's this is my opinion and all driven from my own experience, as well as our group collectively as well. The market trends, I think most importantly right now, which I believe a lot of people are interested in, is obviously this is very different than looking back in 2008, which I went through as well, with this being like this sudden cliff, and all of a sudden the economy is just completely turned off, and we went from being in the best market we've ever been in prior to 2000, even pre-2008, to being in the worst market now possible. I think the feedback that we're getting from a lot of customers is not so much that they don't have the buying power right now, but it's, like with a lot of businesses and individuals, just the uncertainty, as well as the travel restrictions and people not wanting to travel. So that, more than anything, has really put a standstill on the marine industry and in yacht sales in general. The market trends in the marine industry, there's a lot of different markets. You have small boats, you have high-end center consoles, you have motor yachts, you have super yachts. So you have all these sub-markets where I think there's going to be opportunity is on the right out of the gate is going to be on the new boat buying side. And again, this is my opinion only. You're going to have a lot of dealers that currently have inventory that are either their credit lines are going to start shrinking potentially, but also they're going to be anxious to get rid of that inventory, thinking back to '08, which took down a lot of brokerage houses and dealers by carrying inventory. So, the difference with these boats is they're always, whether it's a brand new boat or a brokerage boat, is they're always depreciating. So the first opportunity that I see in coming months will be on the new boat side, or specifically on inventory side, whether it's a small dealer or a large dealer. I think there will be opportunities there. I think on the larger yacht market, in the market that we're in, we're not like a day-to-day cash flow company. It's a low volume business. So financially, we, as long as many other companies right now, I think are in good positions financially, similar to a lot of businesses that aren't day-to-day cash flow businesses. But I do feel that in the next 3-6 months or so, then you're going to start seeing a lot of brokerage houses and a lot of dealers, their attitudes really starting to change as they've gone through a few months of spending money without that income coming in. So I think the brokerage market, typically, in my experience, again, lags behind the opportunities for the new boat market. Just being that I remember going through '08 and other times as well, you speak with sellers, and the thing you hear all the time as well, Mike, I don't have to sell right now, which is fine. And I understand that. And I think we'll hear a lot of that coming up. There's certainly going to be the outliers and certainly going to be those distress sales. But even back in the last recession, those distress sales there's a handful of them, but they weren't everywhere. It's not like everyone was just trying to unload their boat. And it took probably a year to a year and a half for prices really to start correcting on the yacht side. So, again, I think given my outlook, at least, is there's still going to be another 3 to 6 months before brokerage houses, both on new and sellers, start feeling the pressure a lot more so than they currently are right now. I think everyone's in this like foggy uncertainty. No one knows really what's going on, from travel to where their business is to the stimulus package. So I think there's this kind of foggy period that we're in. I think in 3 to 6 months, a lot of this will change, and the market's going to really, the yacht sales market's really going to back. So from a buying side, or I think they're going through some audio. On a buying side, the opportunities will be coming up shortly. Listing your boat for sale, from I think is crazy as it may sound, given the lag. If someone is considering putting their boat up for sale, I think there is a 3 to 6 month window, even right now, to list it, because there's that lag before the market really starts to shift and prices start coming down. So I think now, under the circumstances, could potentially be a better time to sell, because people still are buying boats. People still, from people I've talked to, still have the ability. It's more about the travel restrictions right now. So, hopefully that'll lighten up, I think, in the next 30 days or so. We'll see. That's still a little uncertain as well, but it does take time to prepare your boat for sale. It can take a couple of weeks in itself as well. So that's kind of what we'll fall into next.
So, I mean, on that note, how would you go about preparing your boat for sale for an individual seller who wants to enter the market now?
Yeah, I think given that you really can't use your, especially a motor yacht, you really can't use your boat right now unless it's just like a little day cruise, but there's nowhere to go. The Bahamas are on lockdown. The Keys are on lockdown here in South Florida. I'm hearing that there's a lot of fuel docks closed in the Northeast. So it's, you really can't use the boat. So in preparing your boat for sale, the easy things is spend time doing maintenance. I think there's a lot of maintenance. We've talked to a lot of shipyards. Shipyards are busy right now. A lot of people are doing maintenance during this downtime. Have the boat detailed. It's like something a lot of sellers and boat owners forget. Boats here in South Florida should be waxed and detailed at least every 4 months. And very few, 3 to 4 months, you should have the boat should be waxed. Not a lot of people do that, but it makes a big difference. So it's like really, clean the carpets, clean the interior. I think get rid of any smells. I think boats coming up for sale, buyers are going to be a lot more aware of the cleanliness, is given that boats are like the one safe haven right now that you control everything and that you can get on board and feel like it's clean and you know who's on the boat and so forth. I think that'll become only more true. So pay even more attention to the cleanliness of the boat and odors and all that kind of stuff. So just doing basic things that, yeah, to prepare the boat for sale and getting rid of the clutter and that you would have if you were spending more time on it.
What other types of obstacles, should a seller be aware of as we're heading into a critical time?
Here, kind of going back to getting audio is going back to and how you would price your boat for sale. And I think this is something that we've become very good at doing. And largely the reason for that is we've collected data over many years of average boat selling prices and sort of put together what we have is our depreciation model. I think something that's unique in yacht sales, unlike real estate. In real estate, you can always find out a selling price based on tax records or it's recorded with the county. You cannot do that in yacht sales. There is a database that's completely reliant on the broker's self-recording yacht sales. Usually the bigger the boat is, the less information there is, or it's not very accurate. Oftentimes people will put a selling price that's far greater what the actual selling price is. So we've looked at our own sales as well as accumulated hundreds and hundreds of boats outside of our company as well that we know what the selling prices were and have a depreciation model. So I think in a time like this, it's true during any time, but especially a time like this, when, as I mentioned earlier, you're dealing with sort of this window of opportunity to sell the boat, is making sure the boat's priced competitively. There's so many boats on the market that are grossly overpriced. And you have a lot of sellers, well, their attitude is, well, someone will make an offer. If they're serious, they'll make an offer. And the reality is that's just not true. And that's not true for a lot of different reasons, because often people will just perceive the seller as being unrealistic, but more times than not, the broker's the one that's doing the shopping. He's putting in the search engines what their criteria is. So if they're looking for a boat that's between $1.5 million and $2 million, and someone has their boat priced at $2.3 million, but they'd be agreeable to sell it for $1.9 million, that boat will be excluded from that search criteria, which typically is driven by the broker as well as the consumer. But those little points are very important, why it's critical to price your boat accordingly and to price it properly. But getting back to our depreciation model, a few of the things to take into consideration is it's obviously your carrying costs like insurance, dockage, maintenance, crew, and looking at what your monthly burn rate is just on your carrying costs, in addition to what depreciation is. So if you add all that up, so what we've found to be true is a 1-year-old boat, as soon as it leaves the lot, depreciates 13%, a 2-year-old boat, 12%, 3-year-old boat, 9%, 4-year-old boat, 8% annually, 7%, and then 8-year-old boat will go to 5% and follow that'll sort of level out at 5% for the life of the boat. So long, that's for a well-maintained boat. Audio issues again. So at 8 years, then it levels out at 5% for the life of the boat. So I think, again, it's like looking at given the age of the boat, what the annual depreciation is, look at that monthly, and then also look at your monthly operating cost with crew, insurance, dockage, maintenance, and so forth. So take those into consideration on how you're going to price your boat. And when you start getting offers, we say it jokingly internally, if a seller is going to be holding out for less, meaning that if you get an offer and the seller's like, let's hold out for the next one, another 4 or 5 months go by, and then you've lost that further depreciation, further money in operating costs, and then more times than not, the next offer that you see is less than the first offer. So, hence we say kind of holding out for less. But pricing the boat competitively is hugely important, and something we spend a tremendous amount of time doing with our depreciation model, as well as doing market analysis on the boat. And we'll present all of this to a seller, so it's not presented as, hey, here, Mr. So-and-so, here's what I think the boat is worth. It's I'll tell you what the boat is worth based on, looking at this data that you and I can go through together and determine a fair asking price without chasing the market. Because in this world, chasing the market will only get you less long term. And that's proven over and over again. So again, we have the data that we'll go through together to decide on what a fair asking price is without without chasing the market to get the best return for your boat, because this is a depreciating asset. It's not gaining value. Too many times sellers think that maintaining the engine or doing a big service interval is adding value to the boat or is appreciating. That's maintenance, maintaining the value. And but we see that all the time, is where normal maintenance sellers will often think normal maintenance items are appreciating, are making the boat appreciate in value, which is oftentimes not the case. So anyways, that's that. But that goes back to, I think, Will, if you want to kind of touch on what your other question was.
Yeah, so we've talked about various obstacles, removing the cosmetic obstacle, removing the pricing obstacle. Talk to me a little bit more about our survey checklist and how to be best prepared for a successful sale.
Here, just to interrupt. So I do have a question from Steven. He says, will the yacht market bounce back once the pandemic passes? I think as far as volume of sales go, yeah, it will bounce back. People will always, boating is a lifestyle and people will always boat. So yeah, it definitely will. It'll bounce. Prices don't necessarily bounce back. State once. Oh, sorry, audio issue again. Once the boats start to depreciate in value on a brokerage standpoint, they typically stay there, and we saw that in 08 and all the way up. It took 10 years or so, 10 years or more for the marine industry to recover from the last recessions. So, and a lot of that's driven by the slowdown in new boats as well. I mean, there's always the cost of building new boats, which will impact what the brokerage market is. But what happens is a lot less new boats are being built, which can be a positive to the brokerage market. But it will bounce back as far as volume, but typically the prices don't bounce back as they would in like the real estate market. It doesn't fluctuate nearly as much in real estate as it does in yacht sales. Nicholas asked, what market will get hurt the most? I look back in 2008, and my experience was like sport fish specifically. That market was crushed, as well as like go fast boats, that market, and express style boats. So, which are typically more entry level or less experienced boat owners. I think that those types of boats will get hurt. That market will get hurt the worst. In the market that we are in today, what's become hugely popular that I'm sure everyone's seen are these massive center consoles, $1 million, $2 million center consoles, 40 feet plus. I think that market is going to get crushed. That's going to be the equivalent of the sport fish market back in 08. I think there's going to be a big impact on the high-end center console market. I think large motor yachts will be impacted. If the sales cycle will slow down a little bit, but they're still going to sell. The prices will start to come down, but it's more so going to be a slower rate in sale than these fire sales that will be seen more in the large center console market. I think that's where there's going to be real opportunity. There's a lot more financing in high-end center console than there is in motor yachts. Typically, the larger the boat, the more expensive it is, the less likely the boat's financed, whereas a large volume of center consoles are financed. So I think there's going to be a lot of immediate deals in that market as well. Thanks, Nicholas and Stephen.
So yeah, Mike, if we could get a little bit more into other obstacles that a seller is confronting right now, specifically as it relates to as you get closer to that sale.
Yeah, so one of the things that we do with all of our listings, or even dealing with buyer on the buying side as well. So and preparation for listing your checklist. Going through this audio thing again. We have a comprehensive checklist of pre-survey items to kind of go through that are applied to whether it's a 60-foot boat or a 160-foot boat that has full-time crew. But it's a lot of little things that will frequently come up in survey that that people just don't necessarily think about. One of them is an example. Prior to a survey, it's really important to do a sea trial and run the boat on the pins. So run the boat full throttle for a few minutes and check the engine specs. But to ensure the boat doesn't overheat, we see it all the time where the boat's been sitting for a while. When it runs at full throttle, the boat overheats, typically due to the heat exchangers, and also making sure that the boat's hitting the RPMs that it should be at the various speeds. So we have a long checklist like that, checking through hulls, servicing the water maker, just going through all these little items like the windlass and all the safety equipment. Safety equipment always comes up. On a buying side, the insurance company will require that the safety equipment is all current, so whether that's all the fire extinguishers, halo system in the engine room, all that, life rafts, make sure all that is current, because if it's not, you're going to be negotiating that at the end of the sale because the insurance companies will require that for the buyer. So that in itself will be, it's like just, you want to minimize the list, whether the boat's brand new or it's 10 years old, you'll always have a deficiency list. It may be 50 items or maybe 150 items, but you'll always have that list, and your goal is, as a seller, is to minimize that list as much as possible to put you in a better position for negotiating when it after survey.
So, we've largely talked about what the yacht owner should be doing as far as.
Oh, sorry, Will, I'm having audio. I can't hear you.
Oop, how about now? All right.
No.
Nope, nothing. All right.
Lost you.
Uh-oh.
All right. Well, I know what the next item. Sorry, if your audio comes back. The next question is marketing, and kind of what we don't do to market. So I think one thing that really makes us stand out from our competitors and on listing your boat for sale is from a marketing perspective. And I think we are a more smaller boutique company, which we use that to our advantage. So we're we don't have 150 listings, and we don't strive to have 150 listings. We have a handful of listings that we put a lot of energy and effort into from a marketing standpoint. And there's different sides of the marketing. So I was one of the first, or if not the first, to start doing video marketing back in the early 2000s and putting them on YouTube, which we continue to do this day at a much more professional level with drones and professional videographers that we use for all of our listings. But equally as important is the presentation of the boat from a video standpoint is the back-end SEO side of it as well. So that's something that we're really good at, is optimizing the listing to make sure that it stands out from everything else on the market. So there's the marketing, there's the web presence. We have copywriters that write articles around the boat. There's a lot of different things that we do on the marketing standpoint, but in an environment like we are in today, it's super important. This is what was true back when Nick and I started 26 North Yachts. During the last recession, how important it is to differentiate your boat from everything else in the market. So that can be a very thorough written description, having the best video. Something that we're doing more currently is sending out video brochures, a mailer brochures to people's homes that will be an actual paper brochure that you open up with a video screen, giving a full presentation of the boat. That's pretty cool. So we'll be sending a lot of things to your house from a marketing standpoint if you have your boat listed for sale with us, as well as, really stepping up the online presence. So to bring the boat right to your office or your living room, so you don't have to travel now, especially in a time like this. But more importantly, I think above all is it comes down to the execution. It's like a lot of companies will promise you and tell you how great they are and have similar marketing styles that they're doing, but the execution and the people are what differentiates us from everyone. All of our brokers are or will be in process of CPYB, which is Certified Professional Yacht Broker. It's the highest achievement of a yacht broker that you can be in the industry, including myself. So we're all CPYB. So we really pride ourselves as being professionals in this industry, as we do this every single day. We're not captains on the side or doing other stuff on the side. We do nothing but yacht sales. But that's a little bit what we're about. And we'll continue to do these types of updates as we go along. I think our next video presentation will be more on buying opportunities. So something that we're doing now is creating a list of every new boat inventory boat in the country within our market that we will, so for any buyers out there that we can kind of look at and look at where potential opportunities are. But for now, this going through sellers. If you are interested in selling, I'd be glad to talk to you, whether it's now or 6 months from now. Happy to share some more experiences. I think we have one more question. Brandon asks, Mike, can you just find me a buyer for my boat, even if it's listed with another brokerage house? Yeah, Brandon, whether it's with me or someone, I can certainly do that. Sorry, just having a audio issue. I mean, for myself, my expertise is certainly, I'm on just yachts in general, but I tend to focus more on the listing side. We have guys like Nicholas in our office or other salespeople in our office that are equally as good on the buying side as well. But yeah, it's, this is a relationship business. So if we have a good relationship and we feel like we work well with you and we're all on the same page, we can certainly help you find another boat. It doesn't matter whether the boat's here in Fort Lauderdale or in Istanbul. The location of the boat makes no difference. Who it's listed with makes no difference. Very similar to real estate. You can have a broker representing your interest, which is also very important. You want a broker that that is looking after your interests and that you're both on the same page and loyal to each other. That seems to work best. So I think that's unless there's any other questions that come up here. I have another question from Josh, but I cannot see it.
Is my audio working?
Now it is. Yeah, you're
okay. Back. So how about this is from Josh. How about people that just want to sell their boat but not sign a contract? They just want to use it as a quote unquote pocket listing.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not really interested in doing that for the sole reason we spend a lot of resources, my time and money. So we spend a lot of time, I mean, on marketing our boats for sale. That's like asking, calling an attorney and asking him to provide a service at no cost. I'm not interested in doing that. But I'd certainly, there certainly are brokers that do, will do that. And it's no different than taking reduced commissions and all that kind of stuff. Is typically a guy that does that doesn't understand the own value that he provides. And I know for myself personally that once I do start working with someone, whether it's on a listing or on the buying side, is I do provide an extraordinary amount of value, given that this has been my career for almost 20 years, every single day. So yeah, that's just not something I'm interested. I provide too much value. But thanks, Will.
All right.
Any other, if there's any other questions, if not, we'll, look forward to giving you further insight and updates on our next, next Wednesday. We'll do another webinar with some more questions. Just came in real quickly. It says, Sebastian, if I have a contract with your firm, can I still list my boat on my own? The answer is, not really. And you can list your boat you can list it, but if a sale happens, because our marketing is so expansive. I mean, we've driven buyers I've sold boats to people from Qatar, Istanbul, all over Europe, Asia, Taiwan, China, everywhere through our marketing efforts. So I know that I'll be able to provide a lot more exposure than you will be able to. So I don't want that exposure out of a fluke. The person contacts you or sees your information direct, but finds out about the boat through me. Is typically why I wouldn't allow to do that, because we spend a lot of, just like I was saying, we spend a lot of money and resources marketing our boat. I would not want to spend, I don't know what type of boat you have, but say if I spend $100,000 marketing your boat or $50,000, and then the guy goes direct to you through my marketing, it wouldn't really be fair to me if I'm putting all this time and energy into marketing your boat and then having it listed for sale. With that being said, though, if you have certain platforms from where you are that may attract someone else, you can certainly redirect them towards me, and then I can help kind of go through the process, because my value is on different fronts. My value is on certainly the marketing, as a company, it's marketing the boat for sale, but it's also negotiating through a deal. That's one of the things that I'm, again, is a lot of business owners and successful business owners that are out there that own these large yachts have been successful in their own right. But my experience is doing nothing but negotiating yacht transactions. And that's all my experience is, solely negotiating yacht transactions. So I provide a lot of value on going through surveys, these pre-checklists, how to negotiate, the emotional side of it. There's a lot of nuance in yacht sales that you may not have, similar that a lot of people compared to real estate, and a lot more moving parts. But yeah, so I hope to answer your question is that we typically only do what we call an exclusive listing for boats that we have listed for sale. But thanks for the question, and I hope we could be of help to you. Other questions, so yeah, Sebastian, you're asking social media, or yeah, I mean, if you add someone like Josh in our office as the listing agent with the own advertising that we'd have no issue with doing that. One of the things that we do like to make sure that our marketing efforts are if someone else is doing outside marketing efforts, that it's in line with our own branding. We don't want to be perceived as have someone else doing marketing efforts that's different than the image or the brand that we're putting out. But all very good questions, so I appreciate you asking that. But yeah, I think that's it for right now. We won't keep it too much longer. So next week we'll do more so on buying opportunities. As I said before, we currently have a list of all new inventory boats that are currently on the market now, and can give you further insight if you're more interested on a buying side, and we'll dive further into that next Wednesday. If you are interested in talking specifically about listing your boat for sale, feel free to reach out to me. My name's Mike Carlson again, and I can be reached at 954-309-1255, or you can just call our office, ask for me or any of the guys. We're happy to help you out. And we know this is a tough environment, and whether you're interested in buying or selling, we also have a lot of resources for yacht management services. If you don't need full-time crew, we have dockage available. So we have a lot of resources outside of sales in the event you need something, and are glad to be of help now. For even if it's not sales related, we want to help as much as we can during this time, because it's an important time to help each other out, and it's going to be a battle for all of us to get through it, but we will get through it, and appreciate everyone joining us today.
Thank you.
All right, we'll see you next time. Thanks for joining. Bye.